What's going on, my PT peeps, my Walking Dead family, and my fighters? I'm One Eye Bry, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about some interesting information about Negan in Dead City, and it looks like we're going to get old school Negan. Spoiler warning for all things Walking Dead. So first, I'm pointing out the leather jacket. Negan rocking the leather jacket is nothing new, but I hope we get Negan being Negan, but he's on Team Rick, Team Maggie, really our team, and let Negan be Negan, but going against another group. Now, per Entertainment Weekly, Jeffrey Dean Morgan hints old school Negan is back on The Walking Dead, Dead City, per Dalton Ross, and like I said, Entertainment Weekly. This is their article. But let's get into it, and guys, so a nod. That's how Negan's story on The Walking Dead ended. He really did. He just nodded to Daryl and walked away, with the ultimate villain turned uneasy alliance partner trading nods of respect through a window with his former adversary Daryl Dixon. But while that may have been the end of Negan's story in the Walking Dead series, it is far from his end in the Walking Dead franchise. That's because Negan's story will be picking up in the new spin-off The Walking Dead Dead City, hitting AMC in April. The man who plays Negan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, already confirmed that the nod to Daryl was also a goodbye. He's not sticking around, Morgan told Entertainment Weekly in November of the finale. He's going off to start a family and kind of start over. He has that bit to Daryl, and then he's off. That's it. I think that they've all reached an understanding. There's been a level of acceptance with Negan, which I think has been a hard-fought battle for Negan. And of course, then he leaves. He and his wife are going off. And we didn't see Annie. We're still wondering. I believe there was a deleted scene or a scene that wasn't in the final episode about Annie, so we would have seen her, but Angela Kang said it wasn't time permitting. Also, Negan did have a conversation with Maggie, and it was their final conversation before they meet up again in Dead City. But here's the nod. I kind of would have liked Negan to give him the middle finger or something that would have been funny, but it was just a simple nod to Daryl, and Negan has come a long way. He definitely was a villain and then an anti-hero, but him and Daryl were connected. Basically like Negan and Rick in the comics. Daryl's not in the comics. So Daryl watches Negan walk away into the woods, and then we'll find out in a couple years in the timeline what happens. Where to is a bit unclear, but at least we know where Negan will end up. Dead City will take place a few years down the line and in a new unforgiving environment, New York City. Well, New Jersey. But we'll see New York City for sure, as it was filmed in Jersey, but they'll probably call it New York. But while we'll have a new show and a new location, will we have a new Negan? We spoke to the big bad turned kind of good man himself, and Morgan actually says to expect a bit of the opposite, hinting that Negan we see on Dead City, fresh off being isolated from a supportive community, could be something of a throwback to Negan 1.0. I think time apart probably will make it worse, says the actor. Negan has an opportunity to kind of fall into some old habits because it's all a survival mechanism for him, especially if he's not with the group. The group kind of tamed him in a lot of ways, and to fit in, he had to stop being who he was, and I think away from this group, he is likely to fall into some old traps and old behaviors. Negan's survival instinct can serve him well or lead him morally astray, often at the same time. Look, it's an apocalypse, says Morgan. We know how Negan has survived. We have seen him in his progression on how he survived and what he does to adapt, and I think he will always be adaptable in any situation, but away from people he doesn't do well. So, will Negan come across another group, kind of like he did at Riverbend? Where's Annie? We don't see Annie in any of these promo photos. We didn't see him in the trailer. We have a breakdown of the trailer. But Negan has something in his hand. Will he have Lucille 2.0? Will it be a metal bat, crowbar, pipe, something? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. While Negan and Maggie's story on The Walking Dead ended with the duo finally reaching the closest thing to an understanding that at odds Pain ever had, don't expect that detente, I butchered that, I'm sure, to necessarily continue in the Big Apple, as uneasy of an alliance it is that Maggie and Negan have. I think Negan being out of Maggie's line of sight for a couple years is still never going to make what happened for her go away, says Morgan. I don't know if us getting along in any way is going to last. I don't know if it can. And it looks like the problem is, well, Negan. Negan is a bit of a screw up, laughs Morgan. He's just that guy that you want to smack. He's a punchable guy, and I understand that, being the guy that says the stuff that comes out of his mouth. I want to punch him sometimes. Bottom line, Negan, having been away from the group and then reunited with, of all people, Maggie, is not going to be smooth sailing. Look, we know that he's going to run off to New York City. Morgan says it's him and Maggie, and there's not a lot of people with him. So if I do the math on this, he's going to be in trouble. It's going to be a bad combination for him. Let's just hope there is a post-apocalyptic baseball bat shortage in New York City. So we still don't know why Negan goes to New York, why Maggie goes there, why they come together. But the fact that it's close to Philly, New Jersey, where Rick was, I don't know, could there be a connecting point there? I hope so. And the fact that we know that Maggie and Negan aren't friends, aren't lovers, aren't together, but they have to work together. Now, the fact that Negan could go back to this Negan, but also help Maggie and help our group, well, if it's just Maggie, help Maggie, I guess, could be awesome. Now, Negan coming on the show in season 6 and season 7 and beyond kind of hurt the show because it was Negan versus Rick. Negan being Negan was good for the show, bad for the show, but him killing Glenn and Abraham was terrible for the show. But Negan did carry the show a lot after Rick went away, and if Rick and Negan don't interact, don't ever see each other, I think it's a missed opportunity. Because how awesome would it be, Negan and Rick and Daryl and whoever else working together to take on the CRM, Major General Beale, whoever else, Jadis and the CRM crew. It would be awesome to see. And it was kind of cool to see in the comics if you read the comics. And we had some of that on the show with Daryl in place of Rick. You know, it just worked for there. And it was cool. Daryl and Negan working together didn't feel forced because Daryl, you know, didn't trust Negan fully and Negan didn't fully trust Daryl, but they had to work together. And I think it works. And I'm really pulling for this show. I'm really pulling for all the spinoffs. You know, the other spinoffs with Fear and The World Beyond really didn't have any characters that we knew. And that was a kind of a problem. But the fact that we're going to see Negan and Maggie and Daryl and Michonne and Rick and whoever else could work. But let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. I hope Negan and Maggie's show is interesting and a good addition to the Walking Dead universe, but only time will tell. Thank you guys either way. Stay safe and tell them, Daryl.
Yo, we love